Welcome to the fiscal year 2021 Michigan Department of Education Section 31A Annual Program and Fiscal Report webinar. This training has been designed to do a quick walkthrough of the report for experienced Section 31A reporters. Here is our agenda for our time today. The intent and purpose of Section 31A, a quick review of the sections of the 31A APFR, and an overview of NEXSYS. If you need additional assistance, this slide provides contact information for the Office of Educational Supports team. Please feel free to reach out to any of us as we'll be happy to help answer your questions about NEXSYS and the Section 31A Annual Program and Fiscal Report. As we begin our presentation today, it is important to remember that the Section 31A at-risk grant is a supplemental grant to support at-risk eligible students to achieve proficiency in ELA by 3rd grade, proficiency in math by 8th grade, and career and college readiness by the end of high school. Career and college readiness proficiency is measured in 11th grade with ELA math and science assessments to ensure that students have the necessary skills for continuing with their education or joining the workforce. In addition to the academic achievement outcomes, Section 31A intent and purpose also focuses on students attending school regularly to ensure that they fully engage in their educational opportunities. Please note, in order to complete the Section 31A Annual Program and Fiscal Report successfully, it takes a variety of district leaders, including representatives from the Educational Program Office, Business Office, and Nutritional Offices. This slide provides a list of helpful documents that will support accurate and timely completion, including the end of the year expenditure reports for Section 31A funding, estimated summer programming expenditures, Section 31A funded program information, and school improvement documentation. Here's a slide to remind district leadership that the State Aid Act has requirements for the current allocation and 1 year of carryover. For the purpose of this report, please remember that expenditures should be for the current school year and the at-risk summer programming for summer of 2021. On this slide, you will see that for this report, any Section 31A funds not expended by the end of the district's summer programming, which is generally August 31st at the latest, will become carryover into the 2021-22 school year. Due to this being a report and not an application, there is no formal amendment period. Fiscal data is pulled into the next year's APFR, and spending data reported to the MDE is expected to be accurate. LEAs are encouraged to reach out to the Section 31A consultant team if modifications are needed due to changes in summer programming estimated costs. As a reminder, the APFR has 4 sections or forms to be completed as shown on this slide. The Annual Program and Fiscal Report Help Guide will be available in the NEXSYS platform to assist you in this process. So let's review the parts of the report. Section 1, the district compiled report, has 3 parts, parts A through C. Part A is the Section 31A carryover and current year expenditures. This is the part of the report where districts can see their grants, allocations, and spending for 2 years at a glance. In Part A, 3 text boxes need to be completed. These include one for the carryover spent, the current allocation spent, and the number of schools in the district that received Section 31A funding during this grant cycle. Section 1, Part B is the NEXSYS populated totals and the unduplicated number of at-risk students being served portion of this report. Reporters only need to fill in the text box of unduplicated count of students receiving Section 31A funded services. The other lines will be populated after the remaining APFR forms are completed. Part C is the school-wide reform section. Many districts do not utilize the Section 31A school-wide reform subsection of the law and can skip Part C of this section. If the district or specific building within the district does utilize this subsection, documentation must demonstrate that the building met the 40% at-risk eligible student threshold and that the strategy expenditure that supported all students in the building aligns to the other legislative requirements. The other Section 31A school-wide reform legislative requirements include that the identified strategy was determined by a needs assessment, data-driven, and part of the improvement plans. It is evidence-based, and it includes parent and family engagement components. If school-wide reform strategies were used during this grant cycle, the reporter needs to complete all 3 reporting elements of Part C, including checking the yes box, entering the school-wide reform costs, and checking at least one of the listed school-wide reform strategies. Section 2 of the APFR is direct instructional supports. In this section, there are 5 steps that may be completed based on the services and supports that the district spent grant funds on. Remember, districts will only complete rows and categories that align to the support services that Section 31A expenditures were spent. Only Section 31A funds are to be included on this report. Please do not include general funds, federal funds, or other grant sources. When a district reports spending, the grant in any of the categories in any row on the instructional supports table, all 4 columns A through D must be completed to accurately report and avoid errors. Once a Section 31A support or service is reported in the table, grades, students served, and costs for that specific support should not be duplicated in any other portion of the report. Remember, Section 31A grant is a categorical state aid section. This means that all supports and services that are funded with Section 31A should align to the intent and purpose described earlier, positively impact at-risk eligible students, and not supplant other educational programs and legislation. This is important in all areas and needs to be especially a focus when entering expenditures on the instructional supports table. You and your team want to make sure that you are not using Section 31A funds to pay for general education teachers that are the teacher of record, supplant dual enrollment costs that the district is required to support with general funds, or supplant other legislative requirements, such as the main components of an English learner program. In Section 2, the final step is Step 5. This is the My MTSS response questions. These are 2 questions that the LEA will share a narrative response regarding the implementation of K-12 MTSS. Let's take a closer look at these questions. So as previously stated, the My MTSS response section includes 2-question survey regarding the LEA's implementation of the multi-tiered system of supports, or MTSS. The survey is designed to gather narrative responses that should be provided from the district level perspective. Through these 2 questions, the MDE is asking for specific information regarding, first, the district's provider of MTSS professional learning and/or technical assistance, and second, the specific fidelity measures or tools utilized within the district to measure the effectiveness of the MTSS program. Question 1, explain where the LEA is receiving professional learning and technical assistance to support the implementation of MTSS. So what question 1 is asking for is specific information about who is providing the LEA with professional learning and/or technical assistance, directly related to their multi-tiered systems of support. Who is helping to unpack MTSS, understand what implementation with fidelity looks like, and determine how to plan for ongoing improvement. Sources of support may include the district's ISD or RESA, a vendor, or the My MTSS TA Center, formerly My Blissy, just to name a few examples. If you respond with the name of an ISD or an individual person, please include the role of the individual and the types of training being provided. Please note that answers such as not applicable or not at this time are red flags, since the implementation of MTSS is an assurance and required to be eligible for Section 31A funds. We understand that all LEAs are on a continuum in terms of implementation of MTSS. That being said, answers such as not applicable could be interpreted as an LEA no longer being eligible to receive Section 31A funding. Please remember that these two questions require a response and may not be left blank. An answer must be provided in order to submit the APFR to MDE. If the LEA needs assistance, please contact the Section 31A team. So let's look at question 1 first, and let's look at some appropriate examples. The two appropriate examples show a list of personnel who named the professional learning and who provided the professional learning, or names the ISD, and is followed by a list of topics covered. Remember, keep the responses simple by providing a list. Let's also look at some non-examples for question 1. As shared previously, not at this time or NA are not acceptable. In addition, generic descriptions that do not provide specific information about the source of the professional learning or technical assistance and the subject matter, and that's aligned to ongoing improvements in implementation of a multi-tiered system of supports are also not appropriate. Question 2. What tools is the LEA using to measure the implementation of MTSS as intended? So the second question really relates to MTS asks for specific information regarding fidelity tools and measures being used within the district to measure the effectiveness of the program implementation of MTSS. What tool is the district using to examine and reflect on their MTSS framework? Fidelity assessments are used to keep track of which features are in place and to what extent. These may include a tiered fidelity inventory, a district-generated rubric, or the MTSS self-reflection tool, among others. So let's look at some examples for what would represent appropriate responses for question 2. The first example is a list of fidelity measures that a district may be using. The second example demonstrates how a district may respond to indicate their plan moving forward if a fidelity measure has not yet been in place. As a reminder, keep it simple by providing a list of information. Let's also look at some non-examples for question number 2. As previously mentioned, not at this time or not applicable is not an acceptable response. Stating a needs assessment or a district planning does not provide enough information. And student achievement progress monitoring tools are not considered fidelity measures for the MTSS framework. For additional assistance regarding the My MTSS response questions as part of the annual program and fiscal report, and to gain general background regarding the district's assurance of implementing MTSS as a requirement of the Section 31A grant, please visit the MDE YouTube channel on the Section 31A playlist and view the Section 31A APFR MTSS narrative response questions video. So Section 3 of the annual program and fiscal report is direct non-instructional supports and other supports. For assistance in completing this section, go to page 4 and 5 of the help guide. The three parts in Section 3 focus on direct non-instructional supports, other legislatively allowable supports, and professional learning. Again, if an LEA spent or plans to spend any Section 31A funds on one of the categories in this parts, all columns in a row need to be completed. In addition, all districts need to fill out the radio button in Part B. The radio button indicates if a district yes or no has 50% or more students identified as economically disadvantaged. All districts must complete that radio button. We have come to the last portion of the report, Section 4. You should be on page 5 of the help guide. So there are two ways to complete the school breakfast program supplement form. One is for districts that are exempt, and the second is for districts that are supplementing their school breakfast program with Section 31A funding. If an LEA is exempt, check the box, and the LEA has finalized their submission of their report for the fiscal 2021 year. Districts that are exempt, districts are only exempt if they are under the 20% economically disadvantaged threshold defined in the legislation in the school code and have gone through the appropriate procedures to not serve school breakfast, including school board approval. For all other LEAs, they must report and spend some amount of Section 31A funds, anywhere from 1 penny to the maximum of $10 per pupil on the school breakfast supplement form. If you have questions about your district's particular status, or you would like some support on how to spend those supplemental monies, please contact the MDE Office of Health and Nutrition Services. Please note that districts that are designated as CEP, Community Eligibility Provisions, and districts that are in alternate agreements with other districts that operate their nutrition programs and grants must still spend some amount of Section 31A funds on the school breakfast program supplement. These supplemental funds should be part of the district's procedures for consulting with the nutrition office leadership to enrich the school breakfast program. It is important for our Section 31A team to share some of the announcements and collaborations across the Michigan Department of Education. On April 28, 2021, MDE shared information regarding additional child nutrition program waivers that were announced federally. We know that these waivers and the great nutrition programming that will be available for students in the next year can have impact on our district's procedures and other state laws, including Section 31A. So let's look at some of the key impact points to consider about the nutrition waivers. When school districts run child nutrition programs with the waivers, the USDA waivers, such as the Seamless Summer Program, all students will be eligible to receive nutritious meals at no cost to them and their families. In addition, the LEA will be reimbursed for all student meals at a higher rate for those meals served than some other programs. Due to the meals being automatically reimbursed to LEAs utilizing these programs, there is no legislative requirement for the nutrition departments to collect economic status documentation, including the household information reports for CEP buildings or the free and reduced price meal applications. It is not a requirement for the nutrition office to get these reimbursements as required during the traditional years. Many of the districts have shared concerns about parents not returning the economic status documentation while all students are receiving meals for free. We know various state laws may be impacted when this documentation is not available to the districts, including educational grants like Section 31A, Title I, especially when it comes to rank and serve buildings, E-rate, grants with matching funds based on poverty rates, community programming, and other unknown potential impacts. Due to the legislative Section 31A allocation formula being directly tied to ED counts in a district, allocations of this grant do vary from year to year. Which brings us to the note in Billet C. It will be key for multiple leader stakeholders in the district, including, but not limited to, representatives from the nutrition office, the business office, curriculum and programming, building level admin, and/or pupil accounting, to collaborate on new messaging for parents and strategies to collect the needed documentation. I also want to remind the leadership teams to reflect on the past data collections for what worked and what is potential impact of not having the documentation. Please note that ED documentation is only one way that students and households are determined as ED. There are 4 other ways that students and households may be determined as ED, including direct certification from DHS, or being identified in the following 3 categorical eligibilities: homeless, foster care, and migratory children. Our teams have heard of numbers of districts that have been able to successfully collect the economic status documentation by adjusting the messaging to parents and changing some procedures, including sharing the documents often and through the end of summer open houses, and working with the meal service vendors to get online and digital forms if appropriate and secure. The Section 31A team wants to make sure that everyone is aware that this report is in the NEXSYS platform this year instead of MEGS Plus. Much of the annual program and fiscal report has not changed, and there will still be some learning with the new system. A couple of important reminders when using NEXSYS. All NEXSYS users will need to have My Login accounts. Here is a resource for how to create a My Login account. There will also be some new terminology used in NEXSYS compared to MEGS that better aligns to other state systems such as EEM, the Education Entity Master, and SIGMA. Some examples of this are, in MEGS, the term agency refers to the district, while in NEXSYS you will see the term organization and entity. Another example is instead of the term grant, you will see the term program, used like program name or program number. When you log in NEXSYS, there will be 2 main screens you will see. First, your dashboard, and second, the application or report. We will look at these samples now. So when you log into your My Login screen, you will have a terms and condition pop-up window open. You need to hit acknowledge and agree to the terms and conditions. Then the first screen you will see is your dashboard. On the dashboard, you will see 3 widgets or panels, including My Tasks, My Opportunities, and Announcements. My Tasks is your to-do list. These are the applications or reports that have been initiated or assigned to you. My Opportunities are the programs, formerly called grants, that are available for an organization or district. This is the list of applications and reports available. Some are required applications or reports, while others may be competitive or optional for your district. The announcement panel is where MDE and the NEXSYS platform can send a variety of updates and announcements. This is a new feature in NEXSYS that was not available in MEGS. To offer general information, please stay tuned to learn more about this panel. So when you choose the Section 31A APFR from My Task panel on your dashboard, your second screen that you'll open up will be the report on the screenshot. Let's do a quick overview of some of the features of the Section 31A Annual Program and Fiscal Report. First, the tabs bar. This is the blue bar across the top of the report. It will be accessible from anywhere in the NEXSYS platform. Home takes you back to the NEXSYS dashboard. Administration will allow the user some administrative functions for the organization, for the district. Searches allows overall function within NEXSYS. On the tabs blue bar, you will also see some icons, including a half circle, which lets you set the theme of your visuals, This lets you change the settings from black to white to help with visibility. There is also a book icon, which is where you can access the NEXSYS platform's manual. And lastly, on the tabs bar will be the user's name, which allows you to access your user profile, messages, and edit the dashboard. Plus, this is where your logout link will be. Next is the report number. The report or application number will share some important information regarding the task you're in. When hovering over the ID, you will see the application or report name, the current status of the task, your role in the organization, and the due date. If you click on the report number anywhere within the report, it will take you back to the landing page or document overview. Next, we're going to look at the form slide menu. This is really your navigation throughout this report. For this demonstration, I've collapsed the forms headings, so the form slide menu, you could see it in one screenshot. Be aware when you first enter the report, it will be fully expanded. The form slide menu is a navigation tool with links that will allow you to move to new locations. Be aware that if you're utilizing the form slide menu, you are going to want to make sure that you utilize the save button that we'll talk about in a moment. Next is the main screen. This is the portion of the screen that will display each new form as you navigate through the reports or applications. Up in the top right-hand corner of the main screen are your additional tool buttons. In the additional tool buttons can be found in the right-hand corner of the main screen, just below the username in the green banner. Depending on the form that you are in, you will see different additional tools. Some may include new note, which is like your review comments in MEGS, save, add, or delete. This is where your save button is to make sure that any data added to each new form can be saved in any moment. Lastly, on some forms, you will see the progression buttons. Previous and next buttons are available in the buttons of some forms. Generally, when you see these buttons, when you click on them, you will see a saving icon displayed, which indicates that form is saving. If you do not see a save button in the additional tools buttons located in the top right-hand corner, and when your progression button, when you push the progression button, there's no saving icon appears, check the status of your report or application. Or if you're an authorized user level 4, ensure that the task has been assigned to you. Now let's take a deeper look at the form slide menu. In the Section 31A Annual Program and Fiscal Report, when you expand the form slide menus, it is a long menu of links. The first section is called Forms. You will see that there are 3 subsections under the Forms heading of the Section 31A APFR. The initial 3 forms are directly under Forms heading, and they are all required by all districts. The first form is called Cover Page. On this form, you will confirm the entity's name and address. If the information is incorrect, you will need to have your EEM administrator update the EEM profile for your district. Then you complete the main contact and the secondary contact person by selecting the correct contact available in the NEXSYS platform. The next 2 forms in this section are called Important Information and Assurances and Certifications. In order to complete and submit the report, you must review both forms. The only action required on these 2 forms is to click the form and read the important information and the assurances and certifications. There are no checkboxes or text boxes on these forms for you to complete. Once you have reviewed, the icon next to the form name will become a checkbox or check, and this will indicate that you have completed that form. Besides, the Section 31A APFR Help Guide will be uploaded into the NEXSYS system in one of these tabs, and you may go ahead and print it for successful completion. The second subsection is the 4 sections or forms of the Section 31A APFR. These are the same forms we went over earlier in detail of what is included in each of those steps and that you have done previously in MAGS. The third subsection is the attachment section. At this time, there is no required, this is not a required section. It is provided in case any districts need to upload its supporting documentation. The second section of the form slide menu is located in the center of the slide, and it's called Tools. There's a variety of tools available in the Section 31A report and many of the other applications in NEXSYS. The first tool is the landing page. This will take you to the report status timeline and the original screen you saw when you entered the report. The second tool is the Add Edit People. This is the tool where the report can be assigned to other users in the organization or district. This tool will be the necessary step for Authorized Officials 5 to assign Section 31A APFR to authorized users for. Until an authorized official assigns the authorized user the task, the user will not have access to a save button or be able to save the entered reported data. The next 3 tools in the Tools section are Status History Tool, Modification Summary, and the Attachment Repository. These tools will not be used frequently when completing the Section 31A APFR due to this being an end-of-the-year report and not an application that requires multiple modifications. These may be useful tools if the district requests to amend their report for accuracy in September after final summer expenditures have been determined, or if modifications are requested by a Section 31A consultant during a monitoring or audit visit. The last 2 tools in this section are Notes and Print Document. The Notes tool is a summary of all the notes that have been written in any of the forms in this report. The notes are like the former review comments in MEGS Plus. The Print Document tool is available to print the entire report from one screen. And this brings us to the far right last 2 sections of the form slide menu, Status Options and Related Documents. First, the status options. In this section of the slide menu, the user completing the report will see all the available options to change the status of the report. Some status changes may include submit, cancel, or modify. So in this screenshot, you will see the options that are available is submitting the report to MDE or canceling the report, which will delete it out of the NEXSYS system. The reason these 2 options are available is due to the current status of the report. When hovering over the report number or looking on the landing page, you will see the current status of this APFR is report in progress. Please note, our team recognizes that the status options buttons are currently in a past tense statement. Please don't let this confuse you, as it does not mean that it has already been completed, but instead that it is the current option to choose to change to that status. It is also recommended that you go back to the landing page or document overview screen to confirm that the report has been submitted. When submitting the report for the Section 31A APFR, after you complete the last section, Section 4, you do need to return back to Section 1 and hit Save once more to ensure that your new populated NEXSYS costs have been added to Part B accurately. The last section on the forms slide menu is a Related Documents. For the Section 31A APFR, this section has no action required and is not used in this end-of-the-year report. Related Documents is a general NEXSYS heading, and in other OES applications, such as the Consolidated App or Section 41 application, this function may be utilized. Thank you for watching this webinar today. You are now ready to go into the My Login site and jump into the NEXSYS platform. Please feel free to look at the other Section 31A resources on the MDE Section 31A website or MDE YouTube Section 31A playlist. On the Section 31A website, there is a variety of Zoom office hours listed throughout June and July 2021. Feel free to stop in for any district-specific 31A questions and use the Teams contacts that were listed on slide or use the Teams contacts that were listed on slide 3. Have a great day.